Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, no rest for the wicked, and the wicked shall know no rest, as guys I bring you this. London-based Islamic Commission drags President Buhari, Buratai, Rufai to ICC over Zaria massacre, ask Nigerian government to release Zarzarky. So the Zarzarky narrative, of course, something that we go back to, and this is something that has, by the way, not had its space in time. It has not had the focus that it should have had, because of course the build up to this Zarzarky situation was that the army chief then was saying that the Shiites were rude to him, or they were unpleasant to him, and as a result he sent out his troops and they mowed down about 300 of them. 300 people we're talking about, to the point that the Rufai commission, because this happened in Kaduna State somewhere, to the point that the Rufai commission indicted the Nigerian army for this atrocity. So you can imagine a Fulani man indicting another Fulani man. So that was the extent of it. But then of course this was swept under the carpet, because of course when things happen in their region, in the northern parts, nobody cares, because of course the media is essentially Yoruba and the focus is usually on what happens in the southern region. So nobody cares. But of course this was even a worse atrocity than Lekki Toll Gate, as again London-based Islamic Commission drags President Buhari, Buratai, Rufai to ICC, and ICC, by the way, is the International Criminal Court. So to ICC over Zaria massacre, ask Nigerian government to release Zarzarky. So now let's not get into the details of it. A United Kingdom-based Islamic advocacy organization, Islamic Human Rights Commission, has called on the Nigerian government to release Sheikh Ibrahim Zarzarky and his wife Zinat, who has been in jail since 2015 on baseless charges. IHRC disclosed this in its latest communication with the International Criminal Court regarding the Zaria massacre of 2015. Correspondents recalled that the London-based Islamic group had earlier dragged President Muhammadu Buhari, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Chief of Army Staff Buratai to the ICC over the December 12 to December 14, 2015 massacre of members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria. The organization accused El-Rufai of compromising the commission of inquiry his government has set up to investigate the Zaria killings by demolishing the properties of the Sheikh groups days after the incident. It also asked the ICC to investigate former Emir of Kano State, Mohammedu Sanusi II, and late Emir of Zaria, Shehu Idris, for human rights violation and crimes against humanity over the alleged killing of at least 1,000 followers of the Shiite group led by Zarzarky. Other army officers and persons the IHRC asked the ICC to probe for their roles in the massacre are the former spokesperson of the Nigerian Army, Sani Usman, General Officer Commanding of the Nigerian Army, Kaduna, Adeniyi Oyebade, Commander, Nigerian Depot, Chief of Defense Staff, Abayomi Olonisikin, Director, Nigerian Intelligence, Chief of Defense Intelligence, AVM Riku Morgan, AK Ibrahim, Commander 1st Division Garrison, Nigerian Army Kaduna, Colonel FM Babayo, Captain Ben, Adjunct Depot, Nigerian Army, Adeniyi Oyebade, General Officer Commanding 1st Division Garrison, I think we've read that, Umar Labdo, Sambo, whatever his last name is, Bala Lau, Yahaya Jingi, and Kabil Gombe. The rest are Captain Ben. I think we've read through a lot of these names, so let's just go on to the next paragraph. IHRC, in its latest report written by Katrina Aina, called on the ICC to investigate the Zaria massacre carefully, noting that the action of the army qualifies as a crime against humanity. The report contains horrific details of the massacre and the destruction of properties owned by IMN between December 12 and December 14, 2014. According to IHRC, which described the attacks on the Shiite groups as unprovoked and premeditated, the attack was centered on 4 properties. I'm not going to attempt this name, is Husseinia, so apologies for the pronunciation, Husseinia. The Husseinia and religious center located at number 1A Sokoto Road, the home of IMN leader Zarzarky in Gwailusu neighborhood of Zaria, the group's burial ground of Durar Rana in Daimbo village on the outskirts of Zaria, and the home and burial place of Hajiya Saliya Mohammed, Sayyid Zarzarky's late mother, in Jushu neighborhood of Zaria. Part of the report reads, IHRC welcomes the report on preliminary examination activities in 2019 by the Prosecution Office of the International Criminal Court. Nevertheless, IHRC is of the view that in these 5 years, little has been demanded from the Nigerian government by the ICC and other leading international organizations in respect of their role at the forefront of the fight for the protection of human rights. The international community should apply more pressure on the Nigerian authorities and remind the country of its obligations to upholding human rights. IHRC believes that the Nigerian authorities have been operating outside legal norms on the basis of examination of a number of incidents within the context of a strategy which aims on the one hand at destroying and concealing all evidence incriminating the soldiers responsible for the killings of December 2015, and on the other hand to cripple the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Islamic movement. This is exemplified by the fact A. The government has refused to follow National Commission of Inquiry's recommendation to prosecute Adeniyi Oyebade, the general officer commanding the Nigerian Army's 1st Division, widely believed to be behind the savage attack. B. The Attorney General of Lower State Court has started prosecuting Sheikh Ibrahim Zarzarky and his wife Malina Zina on the basis of false accusations in a sham trial, in defiance of the 2016 order for their release by the Federal High Court of Justice, a higher national court, who ordered the Department of State Services DSS to release Sheikh Zarzarky and his wife Zina within 45 days. This IHRC communication aims to provide an in-depth update on the happenings since the 2015 massacre occurred, to be seen in the context of continuous violation of the state of law and Zarzarky's right to receive medical treatment by Nigerian authorities. IHRC believes that the trumped-up charges against Zarzarky and his wife reflect a misguided attempt by the government to conceal its responsibility for a planned and systematic attack by soldiers against unarmed civilians, along with the government's culpability in a pattern of contempt for due process. In the first part, the report provides an update on the major incidents that have occurred from 2016 to April 2020. In the second and third parts, IHRC has attached 2 lists. 1. A list of attacks by the Nigerian police and/or army against Islamic movement members, supporters, and religious places. 2. an up-to-date list of the people killed during the December 2015 attack in Zaria. Recommendations. IHRC makes the following recommendations to the ICC to take measures to ensure that all evidence of crime and human rights violation are preserved, including all military and other official records, in particular records relating to the collection and dispersal of bodies of those killed in the attack of December 2015 in Zaria. There is credible evidence that the Nigerian authorities are seeking to destroy this evidence. Ensure that the necessary safeguards are in place for the safety and security of witnesses who may testify against the army and the Nigerian government in any legal process. Create and implement mechanisms for exhumation, autopsy, and investigation into those killed in December 2015. Bodies interred in mass graves should be exhumed under the supervision of the ICC or other international bodies with a view to conducting independent autopsies by independent and recognized international forensic pathologists to establish the causes and circumstances of death. This process should be done as swiftly as possible so as to allow bodies of the deceased to be returned to their families for burial in line with their cultural and religious norms. We believe the above steps are necessary in order to allow the ICC to bring successful prosecution. The Nigerian authorities have shown over the last 4 years that they have no intention of prosecuting those responsible for these crimes. Whilst it is necessary that the ICC follows its procedure, it should not lose sight of this fact or the Nigerian government and army's willingness to destroy evidence that points to their culpability. Failure to take the above steps will allow the government and army to erase all evidence of their criminal action. The incident in Zaria are not the first time that the Nigerian army has acted in this way. Amnesty International has reported the extrajudicial killings of alleged members of Boko Haram by the Nigerian army. These killings involved them slitting people's throats whilst filming and photographing the atrocities. Such actions amount to a war crime. These types of events strongly suggest that at least a section of the Nigerian army is totally out of control and is committing murder and extrajudicial killings of unarmed civilians with apparent impunity. We recommend that the Nigerian army's participation in all international peace missions organized by the UN or the African Union be suspended immediately until the perpetrators are identified and brought to justice. So this is the rather long-winded but very detailed account from London now, bringing Malam Buhari yet to book again. So this is not a new thing, of course. Malam Buhari is a killer. There's absolutely no question about that. This guy has been killing Nigerians since the 70s. Of course, he will claim that his atrocities under the civil war was defending the country. But then, of course, when he was the military head of state of the country in the 80s, he was using retrospective laws to kill Igbo people. So what they did in that time was, remember his war against indiscipline when they were flogging Yoruba people in Lagos State because they were accusing them of not forming an orderly queue. This was what this guy was doing then. But what was even more sinister, more egregious, this guy, he created a retrospective law having like a capital punishment for drug related crimes, and then he then backdated it to then capture a lot of people that were not captured by that law before that law was created, and then applied capital punishment on them. He targeted it, of course, against the Igbo people, who this guy seemed to have a particular dislike for. So this Malam Buhari has been killing Nigerians since the 80s. He has nothing else that he enjoys more in life than to kill the Southerners, the Igbos especially, and the Yorubas as well. Why not? So this is what has been happening, and this has now been happening on a mass scale since 2015. I don't have to introduce that to anybody. We've just now discussed the 300 that were wiped out in Zaria in 2015 in December 2015, and of course I don't have to give anybody the narrative of the Fulani headsmen. Anytime that these Fulani headsmen are confronted, people quickly discover, I'm talking about in the southern regions, in Yoruba land, I'm speaking to now, anytime that, or even Igbo land as well, anytime that these Fulani headsmen are confronted by the locals, it is quickly discovered that these Fulani headsmen, they don't actually speak any Nigerian language. The language that they used to communicate, these Fulani headsmen that are terrorizing the southern regions of Nigeria, these Fulani headsmen, the language that they used to communicate is French, which is of course the lingua franca of Niger Republic. So immediately that tells you that these are people that have cascaded all the way from Niger Republic, cutting through all of the northern regions of Nigeria to end up in Yoruba and Igbo land and weigh havoc on them. So this is now the thing now. So if you don't still think that it is a systematic, what I believe is that they are trying to change the demography of Yoruba and Igbo land. So you recall that they've shut the borders in Seme, and they've opened all the borders in the northern regions, and they've been asking their people to come in, and those people, they are just trafficking them to the southern regions. Remember, they said they wanted to build is it Ruga or whatever in all of the southern states for their people coming from Niger Republic to settle in. What they are trying to do is to change the demography of the southern region so that the mix has been so heavily infiltrated by Hausa Fulani that the Yoruba race is completely wiped out, and the Igbo race of course completely wiped out, to the point that the Ooni of Ife in 10, 15, 20 years time will be the Sultan of Ife, and the Olubadan will be the Emir now of Ibadan, and the Alaafin of Oyo will be the Emir of Oyo. So this is the grand plan, and this is what we are seeing playing out now. Conversations in the comment section, they are coming, and whether you like it or not, they are coming. But what are you going to do about it? What says you? The British, at least some organizations in Britain are moving, but how do you move? Come share thoughts. But before you come share those thoughts, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps your YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come tell me now. The drum beats are echoing in the distance, and if you don't hear it now, then you will hear it soon enough. But before you come share those thoughts, I did say click on like and subscribe, so just come into the comment section, then let's carry this conversation on. So I'll leave you here, carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.